It's a rather electric atmosphere right now, and in the past 20, 25 minutes, we've been really seeing arrive a pantheon of the who's who in French politics, both past and present. The ministers of the current government, headed up by Edouard Philippe, arrived, along with a whole batch of former ministers from the days of Jacques Chirac, men who at times were his rivals and at times his political associates. Dominique de Villepin, Lionel Jospin, who a name that is known across France as a prime minister on the other side of the political spectrum of the socialists, with whom Jacques Chirac was in a government, what the French call cohabitation, a president of one party, a prime minister of another, a very difficult period for 5 years back in the late 90s and early 2000s. And we've also seen a lot of the prime ministers. We talked about dozens of world leaders who are going to be attending, up to 30 or so. We saw a lot of the prime ministers, the heads of state. I haven't seen any of them arrive yet, but we've seen Lebanese prime minister. We've seen a few others. Hariri, obviously, here a few minutes ago. We're expecting, obviously, Vladimir Putin to arrive shortly. We're expecting the Italian head of state as well, Sergio Mattarella, will be here. We saw Viktor Orban, the prime minister of Hungary, controversial man and politician right now in the current European political scene in his own right. But like I said, a real who's who of right now the political elites, past and present, in France, and really underscoring the sense that Jacques Chirac, for many people across the generations, both a lot of younger people who were never old enough to vote for him, a lot of the older people gathered here today. There are hundreds of members of the public gathered in front of the church also here today. This was a man who represented sort of perhaps a now closed period in political history, a period where perhaps politics may have been a little less transparent, but at times perhaps people were able to more closely identify a closer sense of identification with their leaders. In the case of Jacques Chirac, he's a French president that a lot of French will say that they did feel quite a close affinity for. He was a man that in many cases was seen as quintessentially French, epitomizing what the French see in themselves and giving them really a sense of pride at a time perhaps today when a lot of French are looking left and right and not finding a lot of easy sources to latch onto, people that they could easily serve as sort of beacons of pride and who they are as French. Jacques Chirac, for better or for worse, for all the flaws in his character, there was something about the man and his personality, his charisma, if you will. He was able to offer that connection, that affinity with the French people. So the people we've been seeing arrive here in the past, really rivals, past and present, friends, past and present, but everyone's sort of coming together, even those who at times cross political swords with him, in recognition of the fact that Jacques Chirac was a giant of the French political stage, one who's been gone and off out of power, obviously, for 12 years, declining in health in his later years, and not really present among the public, but very much still present in the hearts of many French people and in the public esteem.
Doug Herbert at Paris's Église Saint-Sulpice in the 6th arrondissement.